Hello everyone, I'm Tracy Derwin, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over the shooting that happened on June 29th in Idaho during a brush fire. So I've been thinking about this, and it is a very unusual case. And the main thing I want to do is point out the inconsistencies with the official narrative and what was really reported and what I think actually was going on, because there's a lot of changing of stories. Even the sheriff changed his story very early on, and then discuss possible false flag evidence for maybe this was a staged event and what this could imply going forward. Since it's been a few days, I thought some sort of manifesto or maybe more information of the suspected gunman would come out, but very little has come out about him. And I'll go over that shortly. But here is a clip of the sheriff. His name is Robert Norris. He also has ties with CIA, FBI, and Mossad. He trained in Israel with Mossad. But this is a clip from early on, and you'll hear that he changes his story about the number of snipers and, what happened during the shooting.
I know we've touched on this with the suspects. We know there is at least one, but you said possibly others. Is it coming from multiple different locations that bullets are coming from that might indicate that?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yep.
So it's coming from not just one.
Yeah. It's what the officers and deputies are reporting up on the mountain right now.
A few moments later.
But based on the preliminary information, we believe that is the only shooter that was on that mountain at that time. So there is no threat to the community at this time. We do believe that the suspect started the fire.
And then in that second part of that clip, there was a man next to him who we're kind of thinking is his handler, because he started showing up and he's always with the sheriff, when he's making these appearances. And I have some local reports that there were more than one shooters. So here it says, eyewitnesses on the mountain said there were 4 guys, and now the official story is it was just a kid. So yeah, that is really unusual. Initially they said there were multiple shooters, up to 4. And there was also here, this is really interesting. And this is from a post on Facebook from a community page from the Coeur d'Alene area of Idaho. It says here that there were reported 11 injured, 2 dead, but now there are 3 dead and 2 injured. The official story is actually there are 2 dead and 1 injured who is expected to make a full recovery. And, just to honor the men that were lost, I wanted to say their names. Battalion Chief Frank Harwood was 42, is no longer with us, and Chief John Morrison, who was 52, is no longer with us. And Engineer Dave Tisdall is 47. He is in critical condition, but expected to recover. So it seems like they've changed not just the number of gunmen, but also the number of victims. Okay. I'm going to go into the background of the alleged shooter, and it's this 20-year-old guy named Rolley, Wes Rolley. I'll show you. This is his TikTok that Shane dug up. This is not what was released to the public. The picture that was released looked very different. I almost didn't recognize him here. And then here's a post from his mom, and this is 2 years ago, saying her name is Heather Lynn Kuipo Kuchiara. She's remarried to this man's stepdad. And she was saying that she's so proud of a man you've become. And she also explains that he is going to Idaho to work for his dad's tree work company. And if it works out, it might be permanent if it works out. So that kind of goes against the narrative that he was a transient living out of his car. But maybe he was. Maybe the situation with his father didn't work out. It kind of seems like it didn't. His biological dad is Jason Rolley. He is also a Army veteran, trained as Scout Cav and MOS 19D, which is highly specialized and a badass. So he was a pretty high-ranking soldier. He wasn't just a regular soldier. But so far, these people, his mom, dad, stepdad, here's his stepdad right here, named Tony Cucciara, they have not been interviewed, or I have not heard a statement from them yet. The only people that I've heard from are his grandfather and ex-roommate. And they didn't give a whole lot of information. There's talk of this man wanting to be a firefighter, and possibly that is part of the motive. There's also this narrative that the day this happened is the 24-year anniversary of when a white supremacist compound was deliberately burned down. I simply don't think that's possible. First of all, that was 4 years before the suspect was born, and this event wasn't well known. I had never heard about it. So I think they're trying to put out narratives and seeing what will work. Another thing is the suspect was found dead with a shotgun nearby, whereas before they said there were snipers. So that's unusual. Snipers, for the most part, will use a rifle. I suppose you could snipe with a shotgun. So there's just a lot of inconsistencies, and I have more, but I do want to show an investigator named George Webb, and he seems to think that at the very least there's a cover-up and most likely a false flag. But I've been trying to figure out what this event is trying to accomplish, and I can't come up with a very clear reasoning. So false flag, I'm meaning this was planned in order to gain public support, change public opinion, or to make changes, legislation such as the Patriot Act after the towers came down, something along those lines. And I can't really put that together in my mind, but I'll let you hear what this man, George Webb, says.
George Webb here in Coeur D'alene at the shooting. Canfield Mountain behind me. You all have heard the 2 firefighters being killed. We also have a word. We've talked to a police officer that police officer's been shot as well. Up to 8 additional victims here in this shooting. Rapid fire sportsman rifle. Could be 1 to 3, 4, or 5 even. We don't even know how big the group is. You can see, I believe this is the Spokane County coming in from Washington. This is close to the border between Washington and a sniper team from Washington over here. So you can see that there's 2 helicopters lazily circling the fire. They're not able to get, at least the latest police briefing here, because they can't get to the fire because they're still taking fire. So you can hear the police in the background here. It's 6:24. The sheriff said it may be a multi-day event trying to catch these guys. We just went into the back approaches to the switchback to the trail entrances over to Canfield. We didn't see any police there. So if they come over the mountain, they're coming out this way, and there's nothing really to stop them unless they come between here and the high school. So we'll leave it right there. George Webb reporting from one of the worst active shooter incidents involving first responders ever.
And this the official narrative is that this man started the fire in order to lure the firefighters and then ambush them. That just sounds a little weird to me, but that is what the story is. So this clip that you just saw was early on. It was the day of, the fire was still active. And he says that one of the victims was a police officer, but now the official story is that the 3 that were shot were part of the fire department. Okay, here's another clip from George.
Okay, hello, George Webb here on the mountain. You can see the Doug fir, you can see the ponderosa pine, you can see where the shooter was, you can see the hilly area of Canfield Mountain behind me. And you can see this road here, not far from where the white van was. We have a white van in this story, like we had the white van in the Thomas Crook story with Uric, right? There's 5 different interactions with the van. We don't know where the folks got into this altercation. The sniper or snipers get into a tree stand and start firing down, and they get into this gunfight. But the push is going to be the center of the story. The white van being pushed, this person, this younger Rolley person, a lookout or a go-between to go down the hill here to get food, down Thomas Lane here to get food. This was just put in today. I just talked to the road crew that put it in. This topping was just put on. So again, we look for this kind of metadata to, cover up, so to speak. This is the truest sense of the word cover up.
Right. He also says that there is a white van involved, similar to Crook's during the Trump attempted assassination. So, yeah, a lot of inconsistencies. And then here's one more. He's going to discuss the false flag.
George Webb here at the 15th Street Fire Station. You can see 2 firefighters died yesterday in the shooting just up at the end of this mountain right behind me, this Canfield Mountain. The person we said, Travis Decker, is wanted just over there in Washington for the murder of 3 people, not just the murder of 3 people, but the murder of his children, of his 3 children, as recently as this month, right? We found the folks here at this command center. This is where the command center was yesterday. We found the people here from the U.S. Marshal Service, the Fugitive Marshal Service. The Fugitive Marshal Service looked for fugitives. Where were the license plates from? Washington. They all came from Washington. They were all here at the beginning of the shooting. So again, it's looking very much like Travis Decker, a guy who's trained and skilled to living in these mountains. Travis Decker is potentially shooting a patsy and then throwing a gun. By the own admission of the police chief, Bob Norris, by his own admission, Bob Norris's own admission, he says the gun was just found in the vicinity of the dead body, and he says they scooped up the dead body. There is no crime scene, the crime scene contaminated. He said it by his words. Some people have mentioned Bob Norris trained with Shin Bet, trained with Mossad, trained with the Israeli intelligence forces. Los Angeles, he was with the intelligence services in Los Angeles. He had a top secret clearance in Los Angeles. Everyone's saying false flag. Everyone's saying patsy. It does look like a false flag. It does look like a patsy. Not coming clean with who it was last night at the press conference is your second indication. The third indication may be the Shin Bet Mossad connection of the sheriff.
Right, so he introduces a fugitive that is on the run. His name is Travis Decker, who is a fugitive because he killed 3 of his children. And I've heard on one of the lives, people from this area strongly believe that Travis Decker is at least one of the gunmen. And also to support that theory is that the U.S. Marshal Fugitive Task Force showed up, and they're in their gear, and their cars were from Washington, which is where Travis Decker, I think, is wanted from. That's where his crimes were. So another twist, is this the person that is responsible? And a question I have is, if this is the man who is responsible, why aren't they using him as the patsy? Why do they have to use this 20-year-old guy who just doesn't seem really capable of pulling off something like this? One 20-year-old guy without military experience manages to shoot, 3 members of the fire department. And it kind of seems like there are many more victims involved here. So That I really cannot figure out. He also mentions that Sheriff Norris has ties to LA Sheriff's Department and Mossad right here in his Wikipedia. Says on the bottom, Norris trained with Israel, with Mossad and Shin Bet. My understanding, Shin Bet is another of their internal intelligence groups, maybe sort of like the Secret Service. After he did that training in Israel, he became a lieutenant with the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, and then moved to North Idaho, where he now serves as the sheriff. And then here is another picture, and you saw this man in the first clip that I showed of the sheriff when he was changing his story. This is what we're thinking is the handler, so the person that's making sure Sheriff Norris is staying on point, providing the narrative that they want. And it says here he's on every channel. And it did seem like one of the more recent press conferences that the sheriff had, he seemed really nervous. There was a difference between his first appearance and the second one where he changed his story. So, yeah, this event is very unusual. And I'm going to show you what I have here, just pointing out the inconsistencies and what makes this unusual. And I don't have a very strong opinion of the purpose of this. Okay, just a little background on Wes Rolley's, who he is. His mother is Heather. His father is Jason Rolley, former Army veteran. And I also learned that his mom is also a veteran. Okay, so here is one of the earlier reports from Sheriff Norris saying rapid fire rifle volleys, 1, 2, 3, even 4 shooters. Now it's just a single kid with a 5-round shotgun. Yeah, also they just scooped up the body and didn't really do any ballistics or, make it a crime scene. It just seems like it was very haphazardly put together, or the story was just kind of put together last minute. Again, here are the U.S. Marshals. Okay, and this is from one of our subscribers. What was it about this? Oh, this is bringing up that Coeur d'Alene is slated to be a 15-minute city. I don't know exactly what that has to do with this, aside from the firemen that were in this event were against the redevelopment of this area. But I don't know if that is... the fire chief's Webb's research tied the victims to disputes over controlled burn zoning under the Coeur d'Alene 2030 redevelopment plan. So they were planning to turn this area into a gated Lakeview Estates. And here's the Vision 2030. So maybe was the purpose of this to unalive the firefighters, and they use this young guy as a patsy to explain it and just say that he was unhinged, he was transient living in his car, probably on SSRIs, had some kind of extremist opinions and just hated firefighters. I don't know. I don't think that is the reason, but there's just a lot of things that it could be, but there is certainly a cover-up, but I don't know what that cover-up is. Also, a possibility is if this fugitive is the one responsible for this event and he was on the run for some time, and he was, not able, the marshals weren't able to get him in time. Maybe they don't want to be responsible for this. That's a possibility. But I do think if the Travis Decker fugitive is the one that is responsible, I feel like they would have caught him by now. And why not make him, responsible? Why not tell the truth if that was the one, if he is the one responsible? It would make more sense to me, because the official story, it sounds like all of the other false flag events is very similar to Crooks with the Trump shooting. I think he was the same age, a lone shooter without any military background responsible for a big event like this. And it's just a story that we've seen over and over again. A big shooting and this random person that is not really connected to the people that were shot is responsible without a clear motive. So is it something we're seeing again? Possibly. But if you guys have any ideas of what the purpose of this false flag is, please leave them in the comments below. And I'll continue to follow this story. I thought more information will come out by now, but it's just very slow. They already did a procession for the lost firefighters. And so I think they're kind of just going to wrap this up and kind of, put it behind us. So that's going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.